I'm Scorpio Sky, 1/3 of your favorite trio, SoCal Uncensored, SCU! And this is the worst interview I've ever been in.
Here we are. We're doing this. Charleston, West Virginia is where we are.
Charleston, West Virginia.
Yeah.
The worst town I've ever been in.
No way. This is the worst town?
This is the worst town I've ever been in.
I love that that's become a thing.
I know.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so weird, the things that become things nowadays.
Right.
You know, like Jericho, a little bit of the bubbly, and I have a ticket, and for us, it's, you know, this is the worst town I've ever been in. I guess everyone can relate because one thing I've noticed is a lot of people don't like where they live. You know, everybody wants to be somewhere else, and I think that's people relate. We have so many meet and greets where people come up to us and they're like, "This really is the worst town you've ever been in. It has to be." And I'm like,
Do you look at them and go, well, you know, you could move, right? Like,
right.
You're not stuck here.
Everyone can go to SoCal.
Oh, you wouldn't want to leave there.
No, I love it so much. I honestly do. I love it so much.
When you go to, you know, when AEW does a live event there, do you have to lie and be like, this is the worst town?
No, we're going to see what happens. I can't wait to go there, though.
Can you be like, this is the best town I've ever been in?
You know, we do have favorite worst towns, though. Philly, Las Vegas, New York. Those are some of our favorite worst towns.
SoCal's pretty great, though.
Oh, it's the best.
I spend quite a bit of time there. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you can look. I mean, I know the people watching, they won't be able to see, but you look outside and it's so cloudy and you know, it's just muggy and gross. And back home in LA, you know, it's probably 85 degrees or, you know, 80 and just beautiful and sunny and clear. And yeah, I can't wait to get back to SoCal.
My favorite thing about Los Angeles is when it rains, it's like a news event.
Yeah.
Like it's breaking news, like precipitation is falling from the sky.
It's like, what is this? And that and a Coke can in the road can cause 3 hours of traffic.
Also, no one there can drive when it rains.
Nobody.
No.
Oh, it's bad. I try to just stay inside.
What part of the city do you live in?
So I live just about 25 minutes outside downtown LA. So I'm in like a little suburb area. That's
okay, yeah,
like
nobody
small.
lives in downtown LA.
No, people do. Nobody from Southern California lives inside downtown LA. But people that move from other places, transplants, they don't know any better. So they go and they pay $4,000 a month for a studio apartment the size of this hotel.
So the great thing about living there is the weather. The worst thing about living there is you have the longest commute out of anyone to all these cities.
Yeah. We usually leave, and when I say we, I mean Frankie and Chris and I. We usually leave Monday night on a red eye and fly through Detroit or Atlanta, and we have a layover there, and then we get to the city we're in. Like example, last week we had a delay, and so we ended up in, I believe, Atlanta airport for like 5 hours. Our delay.
No.
And
to get to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, that's why we leave so early, though.
Yeah.
That's why we leave Monday night. And then, you know, we get into the town, and tradition, we always go straight to the gym within an hour of getting checked into the hotel and work out and eat. And then you can kind of rest and relax and do whatever you need to do for the rest of the day.
So you guys all travel together all the time?
Yep.
Who gets the middle seat?
Usually we're not. See, those guys have been doing it way longer than I am. So they're usually in first class, and I'll end up in like Comfort Plus or Coach, or every once in a while I'll get upgraded to first class.
You say like, oh, they've been doing it longer than you have. Yes, but you've also been doing this for 17 years.
Yeah.
You're the best 17-year overnight success story.
It's tough because, you know, I actually always compare myself to a fighter from the Great Depression era named James J. Braddock, who was the Cinderella Man. And his life, basically, he started out with all kinds of promise, and it was like, oh, he's going to be this great fighter. And then he had a series of injuries and bad luck, and definitely things that he wouldn't have liked to go through, but ended up having to go through, and essentially became a journeyman, and actually had his license taken away from him, and he wasn't allowed to box for a certain amount of time.
Wow.
And eventually, we're good, thank you.
Housekeeping knocking the door. Sorry. I always forget to hang the thing on the door.
So anyways, He ended up getting a fight on 2 days. No, was it? Yeah, it was like 2 days' notice. One guy got hurt. He ended up getting a fight on 2 days' notice because basically they just needed somebody to beat who had a name, and he ended up winning the fight. And then he went on a run and eventually became heavyweight champion of the world. So I consider myself the Cinderella man in the sense of, like, it has been 17 years. I've had a lot of ups and downs, some my fault, some out of my control, but I came through the other side, and here I am.
Did you have a Cinderella man moment? Like, did you have a match or a show that you're like, man, this is going to change things for me?
I think I'm living it still, to be honest with you. There was I used to work a day job while doing this, and that actually obviously took away from certain opportunities because they'd be like, hey, can you go to Australia for 2 weeks on a day's notice? And I'd be like, I can't really do that. Like, I have a job, and then also, like, the job would, they wouldn't want to promote me because it's like, hey, you're always taking time off to go wrestle. Sure. So it was tough, but eventually I was getting to a point where I wanted to quit wrestling because it just wasn't working out and it wasn't going well. And I just figured, okay, well, this probably isn't going to go well. And one day I went to, and I was settling in. I was very comfortable, and I was like, okay, I like this job or whatever.
What was the job, by the way?
I never reveal it.
Okay,
it's kind of my thing.
We'll
I never
guess
reveal
then.
It. Yeah, you could put in the comments what you think it was.
What would Scorpio Sky be good at other than wrestling?
Nothing. But but. One day I went to work and they laid me off, and I had no job, and I was like, wow, okay, so what do I do now? And it only took me a couple hours before I realized, okay, let's take one last shot at wrestling. Yeah. And I went as hard as I possibly could, and it worked out.
And at what age were you then?
This was almost 4 years ago. Okay. So, 31, something like that.
Yeah. And when you decided to go head on full into this, were there any regrets?
No. It was like, okay, now I can dedicate 100% of my time and take every opportunity I can get. Of course, there weren't very many, but at first at least. But, I really had to push hard for about a year. But it felt good knowing that, like, I'm going to take this one last swing, and it's either going to work or it's not. Yeah. And I'll have no, like, what ifs.
Yeah. Well, obviously signing with AEW was a big step for you, but I feel like it was just a couple of weeks ago when you had the real breakout moment, and I think JR even said it during the broadcast when you lost your shoes during that match. Like, it was like, here you are, like, here you go, world, here's who Scorpio Sky is. Did you realize that had happened when you walked through the curtain after that match?
I didn't, actually. I was actually really upset with myself, as it showed, and I've taken a lot of flack for people because our finishing move didn't come out the way we wanted it to, and I'm really a perfectionist, and I knew it was a special night, because
we are out of focus here.
We're out of focus. Okay.
There we go.
There we go. I knew it was a special night. I knew the match was going really, really well. And, I threw my shoe out in the crowd, and the crowd comes up and they threw it back. And I'm like, hey, I got it back. This is cool. And so the fact that the very last thing we didn't work, I was extremely frustrated with myself and with the entire moment. It wasn't anybody's fault. It was just a timing thing. But, when I got to the back, I wasn't really thinking about, oh, this was a great moment. It was like, damn it. Like, we were almost there. And fortunately, the fans are amazing and forgiving, and everyone's been, like, I've received, like, a few tweets here and there of people like, oh, man, don't worry about that. Like, you were in socks, and it's not a big deal. And it was an amazing performance, so thank you for that.
But you've got to realize that that's what made the match even that much more special. Mm-hmm. Like, that will be the thing that people will always go back to and go, remember that match where Scorpio lost one shoe and then lost another shoe as well?
I thought sneakerheads were going to kill me because I was wearing Adidas shoes. And
I'm going to fix this. Keep talking.
Right. Yeah, I thought I was wearing Adidas shoes and Nike socks.
Oh, no.
So I thought I was going to lose all credibility with sneakerheads, but fortunately I haven't felt that wrath yet.
I think you're okay now.
So.
If that hasn't happened yet, I think you're in the clear now. And as we sit here, you have the opportunity tonight to make history as the first ever AEW Tag Team Champions. The match obviously hasn't happened yet. It will after this airs. But how does it feel sitting here knowing that that's in front of you?
Man, I obviously had no idea that I was going to end up here. It's an amazing opportunity to even just have this chance, whether we win or we lose. Just the fact that we were in the finals, and you always remember the first. And no matter what, we're going to make history. We're either going to be the first AEW World Tag Team Champions ever, or the history books will show that the Lucha Brothers became the first ever AEW Tag Team Champions by beating SCU. So we're going to be a part of history regardless. I hope we're going to be a part of the former.
I didn't know it was possible to just say SCU. I thought it was SCU.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the accurate way to SCU.
I mean, we can do that. We can do that every time we say SCU.
Yeah. No, why not? SCU.
This has completely changed the trajectory of your career, hasn't it?
It has. Yeah, it's amazing. And like I said, it goes back to the James J. Braddock thing, where it's like, all it takes sometimes is one more chance. And for me, I went really, really hard, as I said, and I ended up getting an opportunity with the Ring of Honor, which led to a little bit over a year, about a year and a half there. And that was a great year where we actually formed SCU, and that led to AEW. And, again, like I said, sometimes all it takes is one more chance, and that'll change everything.
Whose idea was it to do SCU?
I believe Frankie and Chris were looking for a third for a while. And it just so happened that I came into ROH and had like a tryout, which actually Frankie got for me because he had been trying to get me there for a while. And so I wrestled Kushida, I wrestled Cody, and then the next month I wrestled in an 8-man where Nick Jackson got on the microphone after going off the air and demanded ROH sign me. He's like, this guy's been busting his ass for this amount of time. Like, ROH needs to sign him. And the crowd popped for it. And it was in that moment CD and Frankie kind of looked at each other and they're like, he's our third. This is it. He's our guy. And so the name SoCal Uncensored actually came from Nick Jackson, which is a story we've told before, but I'll tell it again quickly. Is there's a website in Southern California called SoCal Uncensored. They've been around for almost 20 years, and they basically just report on SoCal wrestling.
Right.
And as a joke or serious or whatever it was, we were all riding in a van, and Nick Jackson's like, you guys should call yourself SoCal Uncensored. And we laughed about it. We're like, that's funny. And then CD hated it. He was like, he would try to come up with other ideas. He was like, what about SoCal Executive? And Nick Jackson would be like, nope, SoCal Uncensored. That's it. That's the name. So eventually he pitched it to ROH, and they loved it. And so everyone reached out to the website, SoCal Uncensored, and they were like, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love those guys.
Wow.
Please use the name. And that's how we became what we are.
Because they could have been like, yeah, you can. It'll cost this amount of money or something like that.
Yeah, they could have been. They've watched all of us throughout our careers, though. The main guy, his name is Steve, and he's a great guy, and he wanted to see us succeed. So to his credit,
shout out to you, Steve.
Shout out to Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Was the worst town I've ever been in just like classic heel heat to begin with?
No, really, it was it. It almost kind of came from a real place because, again, we would always go through these travel, and this is when the Young Bucks and STU, we were all traveling together. So we'd always go through these traveling trials and tribulations, doing these overnights. And most of the time then, we've got the luxury of leaving an extra day early now. Yeah. Most of the time then it was fly all night, go through your delays and yada, 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 and then straight to the building for ROH.
Yeah.
So we were always in a lousy mood of like, oh, here we are in Lowell, Massachusetts. This place sucks. I can't wait to get back home. And eventually Matt Jackson was like, I want to put you guys on BTE and have you basically just do this. And then, we were like, oh, heck yeah, we're down. We wanted to get on the show anyway. And so they just put a camera on us and we did it. And I basically said, I was like, I'm going to let you guys be creative, and I'm going to say the same thing every time. I'm just going to say this is the worst time I've been in every time, and I said, hopefully it'll catch on. And it's funny. You go back and watch the original ones. I'm very, subdued with it. I'm just like, this is the worst town I've ever been in. And then eventually it becomes, this is, So that's kind of how it is.
But now you guys are along the same lines as the other tag teams who have had the phrases that the crowd can kind of chant along with. We got, the New Age Outlaws, Big Cass and Enzo had their thing for a while. So now you guys, when your music hits, the crowd's like, yes, we can get into this now.
Yeah, it's funny. At All In last year, It was one of the first times we had a big crowd actually say the lines with us. And then I think that was the first time Frankie hit the, I got 3 letters I like to say, and if you say them, what'll you say, make my day. And we went to the back, and everyone was like, oh, that was so great. That was so great. And Billy Gunn was there. And I said, we're just going to be the New Age Outlaws from now on. And he's like, you should. Why not? And we ran into Road Dogg a few weeks ago in the airport. And that was, I believe, my first time meeting him. And I didn't do it, but after he left, I told Frankie and Chris, I should have said, nice to meet you. I'm enjoying stealing your gimmick. Maybe next time.
The fact, though, that you can be self-aware of that, though, is okay. Because I think there'd be a lot of tag teams that are like, no, I mean, we're doing our own thing, and the crowd just seems to like it.
Nope. Completely ripping them off in our own way, Yeah. Everything's kind of a rip off. And I mean, you can look at things like Daniel Bryan's yes. I mean, that came from Diego Sanchez in the UFC. So there's everything comes from something, and sometimes you just have to take it and make it yours.
I listened to Jericho's podcast about the origins of A Little Bit of the Bubbly, and he went down this whole road of all the lines that he had that had caught on, and all of them had origins somewhere else.
Oh yeah,
A Little Bit of the Bubbly was actually a line from Dumb and Dumber.
Oh yeah, a little bit of the bubbly. Yeah,
there it is.
Yeah. It's like everything, and a lot of it is you're just trying to pop the boys. A lot of it is you're just trying to make your friends laugh because you're all tired and you're all, just trying to get through the day, and sometimes you just want to make people laugh, and then the fans catch on and they like it. So.
Going back to the Cinderella Man story, you had some opportunities in WWE. You had some opportunities in TNA. Did you feel like those were opportunities that you squandered, or that time wasn't right?
A little bit of both, actually. So with TNA, I came in. Well, first they tried to bring me in the year before, and I had signed some lousy contract with another company that wouldn't let me out of it, so I couldn't do that. And then the year later, they actually did bring me in, and I did 2 TVs, I believe, and then I did 3 matches on pay-per-view. And I thought, I was like, wow, okay, this is going really well. Everyone's complimenting me. Everyone's like, this is great. Dixie's telling me, great job, and Eric Bischoff. And I'm sitting at home waiting for a text or a call or something for a contract offer, and it never came. And then WWE called me a few weeks later to do a tryout and also do this backstage skit with Kane and Daniel Bryan, which I did. And at the time, there was some sort of lawsuit going on between WWE and TNA. I think TNA was suing them, and it was like a talent thing. Someone from TNA went to WWE, and they had insider info on contracts. So anyways, everybody that had worked TNA recently, like Sean Ricker and I believe El Generico, they were cut from the tryout. They basically called them and told them don't show up. And I didn't get that call. I showed up, and this was the tryout that Bailey got signed at. And so I show up, and I'm in a suit, and I get pulled aside immediately by Canyon Seaman, and he's just like, hey, I don't know how it slipped through the cracks. We just got to let you know that you did TNA like a month ago, and we can't touch you right now, and please don't talk to the dirt sheets about this. But we love you. We just can't use you. Can't touch you right now. So I was like, oh, okay, well, 2 days ago I just filmed some stuff for Raw with Kane and Daniel Bryan. He's like, that has nothing to do with me. That's not my call. And I was like, okay. And so I go home, and the Kane and Daniel Bryan stuff kind of blew up. And then maybe a month later, one of the ladies that works in the office called me, and she asked, she was like, hey, we're thinking about bringing you to Stanford to do some more of these skits. Are you available? And I said, sure, I'd love to do it. And they said, oh, okay, well, before we proceed, I need to know, what is your relationship with TNA? I said, I have no relationship. I fulfilled all my dates. I never signed anything. I'm as free as a bird. And they said, okay. And I never heard back from them. Huh. So that's stuff that was out of my control. What I squandered myself was a couple of months after that, I had some bad decisions that I made where I said some things on Twitter that I shouldn't have said, that were very, very inappropriate and ignorant, actually, and that came off, as homophobic, and that's like a very down point of my career, something I look back on with a lot of regret. And at the same time, though, I learned a lot from it, and I definitely can look back here. We are. This is almost, going on 10 years later. I've learned a lot from it, and I am definitely a different person now than I was then. And I learned that there's certain language that is completely unacceptable, and not only in the public eye, but in your personal life as well. And so, it is a situation I'm very embarrassed about, and I look back with a lot of regret. But at the same time, I learned from it and became a better person and a more understanding person. And yeah, I mean, that's that.
But the fact that you can learn from that, though, and grow from that's the real lesson learned here.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I can show that people can grow and learn and become a better person and change. And, I think I still see tweets every once in a while where someone's like, this guy's that. And, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
There was a situation where not too long after we signed with AEW, someone tweeted at Nyla Rose and Sonny Kiss. And they said, how do you feel about having this guy on the company? And, I don't care if someone takes a shot at me, but to try to make someone else feel uncomfortable, I thought was kind of a real low shot. Yeah. So I reached out to them. I didn't really know them that well at the time, but I reached out to them and I said, hey, I had some things that I said, almost 10 years ago that I'm very embarrassed about. And I'm, it was very ignorant and very, inappropriate, and I'm a different person today than I was then, and I never want you to feel uncomfortable around me, and we can always talk. And they couldn't have been more understanding and open and in my corner, and to this day the three of us are just great close friends.
Did those tweets affect your relationship with WWE?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
WWE responded to it because there was a guy that basically saw the tweets, and he screen capped them, and he sent them to every company I had worked for at that time. He sent them to every single company and said, this guy needs to be gone. This is 2011, I think, something like that. And so, WWE responded, and they said that, we don't back this, and we have an anti-bullying campaign, yada yada yada, and which they had to say,
Sure.
But they called me a year later. I worked for them a year later on accident. I don't think they remembered or whatever, but whatever it was, like I said, I don't hold any animosity towards that. I'm the one that made a mistake. I screwed up, and that's that. It's a part of the story.
Sure. When you look at these opportunities that didn't happen with WWE or TNA, did you go, oh man, if those didn't happen, what am I going to do? Am I going to work this other job for the rest of my life?
I clearly wasn't ready then. I was younger. It was actually a really tough time when all of that was happening. My mom was battling cancer, and I was basically just taking care of her every day. And I was just going through a lot of personal issues at that time. So if I had signed, I wouldn't have been able to handle it because I was kind of a nutcase at the time, which also played a role in me spinning out of control at the time. And there were just really. It was a really dark time for me.
But it's important to look at those mistakes, and we all have mistakes in our life, of varying different degrees. But it's important to look at those and go, I messed up there, and here's how I can be better, and here's how I can move on from that.
The tough thing is a lot of times people don't want to give any second chances, and it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I just ask people to judge me on my behavior since. Yeah. And going forward, it's been almost 10 years, and I can't say it enough. I'm a different person, and I look back, and those tweets, I embarrassed myself, I embarrassed my family, and it's one of those things where I'm gonna have to live with it for the rest of my life. I'm gonna look back when I'm 70 years old, and the same way I look back now, and I say, what was I think? What an idiot, and not an idiot for saying it publicly, but for an idiot for just saying it.
Sure.
Or you shouldn't. And basically, I haven't really even been specific. Basically, I used the F word, and it wasn't. It wasn't like one of those things where it was like, it wasn't directed at the community. It was just basically using it in passing, the way you would use bitch or something like that. Yeah. However, that is wrong. in itself. That's something that you definitely you just can't do. There's so much pain that I've learned. There's so much pain and anguish behind that word, and people that have really suffered the same way, you know, my people have suffered. And I like to think about it as we are all human beings, and if your people suffer, then my people suffer, and we're all in this together. And life is hard enough. We don't need to make it harder on each other. So it's I know I'm kind of going off on a rant here.
No, this is important. The fact that you can even address this, I think that shows that you're a big enough person to go, I made this mistake, and that's okay. You know, we've moved on from that.
Yeah. Fortunately, the fans have been unbelievable, and it's incredible, and only thing I could do is move on and be a positive example going forward. When
you say my people, what ethnicity do people think you are when they look at you?
Black, right?
Well, I guess. Yeah. But yes. But I think other people could be like, oh, you could have some Indian in you or something like that,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like everyone is mixed with,
I guess, with,
a lot of things now. I mean, my family is definitely very, very mixed, but yeah.
But both your parents are African American?
Yeah, both my parents are. They're both, have different ethnicities, but they're both African American.
Mm-hmm. When you were growing up, who were the wrestlers that you really aspired to be like or really looked up to?
Bret Hart. Bret the Hitman Hart, man. Bret Hart was my all-time favorite wrestler ever. I became a Shawn Michaels guy as well.
Wait, you can't be a Shawn Michaels guy and a Bret guy.
I know. There's always Bret guys and there's Shawn guys. I was definitely a Bret guy. I liked Shawn a lot. You know what's funny too is because when Shawn was going to face Bret at WrestleMania 12, I was like, Shawn Michaels deserves the WWF Championship. I hope he wins. But then when I ordered the pay-per-view and the match started, I could not cheer for him. I was like, no, Bret. I want Bret. I know Bret was going to lose, but I wanted Bret to win. And then obviously Montreal stuff happened and I was off Shawn for a little while. But when he came back, I think like post back injury Shawn and like baggy pants Shawn, I think he's the best Shawn ever, to be honest with you.
Really?
Oh yeah, I think he was better with the baggy pants than he ever was, even in his prime. He was so good. He was more technical, and his matches made more sense.
Wow.
Yeah, he told a better story.
Well, I guess he matured, but
he was just smarter, I think.
Younger Shawn, I feel like, could do it all.
He could, but sometimes I think he took risks and did things that he didn't need to, and that didn't. I think when you're older, like Shawn, and you have an injury, you have to use your mind more. It's just like a fighter, right? Mm-hmm. Bernard Hopkins, he fought until he was 50 years old. Okay, did he have the punching power and the speed that he had when he was 30 years old? No. So he had to figure out other ways to beat his opponents. And so with Shawn, as he got older and his back was injured and he couldn't take all of the bumps that he used to take, he had to be smarter and find ways to make this match mean more without putting his body in such jeopardy. And I think the matches did mean more. I think if you look at his matches post back injury, they're far better than his matches. Yeah, if you look at like the matches he did with Kurt Angle, the matches he did with Triple H, the matches he did with The Undertaker. I mean, those matches are some of the best he's ever had.
Do you think that he could have one more match in him?
Oh, man. Well, he did wrestle recently, right? In a tag match or something?
Yeah, I mean, he took some bumps from Ziggler. Yeah. When he was doing that.
He probably could. I don't know if he wants to, though. I mean, it comes a time where it's like, you just let it go. Yeah. Again, going back to Bernard Hopkins, like, just let it go. Although Bernard Hopkins said he might fight again, and I'd watch it against Roy Jones Jr. if he did. But I don't want him getting in there with a killer, that sort of thing. But yeah, I was a Bret guy going back to it. Bret guy growing up. I loved Shawn later on. Kurt Angle became one of my favorites. AJ Styles. I love all these guys.
Do you think about life after wrestling? Like you're very much in your prime right now, and you're hitting your stride. But do you think about 10 or 15 or maybe 20 years from now?
Yeah. I would like to work behind the scenes, hopefully, with AEW in about 10 or 15 years. When I think I've got 10 or 15 years left in the ring.
Well, you look at Christopher Daniels, and I mean, he's got 15 years 50, on you, right?
Yeah, he's got 15 years on me. So so I think I can go another maybe 10.
That guy amazes me.
Oh, me too. He's a machine. I'll tell you, he's a machine. So I travel with him. He's never hungry. He never has to go to the bathroom. He's never tired. He's literally a robot.
Wow.
Frankie and I were like, we got to go to the bathroom. CD's like, cool. But he'll just wait outside for us. We'll be super sleepy, and he's wide awake, just walking around. We'll be starving. Oh, can we get some food? He's like, I'm good. Yeah, but we'll stop for it. It's like, he just doesn't eat. He's a Terminator.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a Terminator.
Huh. How does he do it?
He's a Terminator.
Wow.
He's not a human
It's crazy
being.
because he is one of the best to ever step foot inside a squared circle.
If you look at it, he worked for ECW, WCW. I believe he's done at least some dark matches with WWE, Impact, Ring of Honor, and now AEW. And I think there's only one other guy that's done all of that with the exception of Impact, and that's Chris Jericho.
Wow.
Right? But still active.
Yeah. What have you learned from Daniels in the ring?
Oh, man. I've learned a lot about tag team wrestling from both of them, both Frankie and Chris. Like, I felt like my tag team wrestling was decent before I teamed with them, but it's just at another level. And also being able to wrestle guys like the Young Bucks and the Briscoes. And just I've learned so much about tag team wrestling, and now it's easy. Like, we can kind of almost do it in our sleeps. But there's just a formula, and there's just the timing and being with those guys for like the last 2 years, I believe it is. I mean, it's no coincidence that I've become the performer I am today. I mean, I think I'm far better than I was a couple of years ago, and I think I'm going to continue to get better. So it's all credit to those guys.
Do you think is there any talk of doing trios matches? I mean, you guys are a trio. Jurassic Express is a trio.
Well, I think that's something we're always going to be able to go to is
Yeah.
a trios match. There's Jurassic Express, like you said. There's Best Friends and Orange Cassidy.
That's right, yeah.
There's the Young Bucks and Kenny.
Yeah.
There's six mans out there that we can run with, and I think we will eventually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look ahead, obviously looking ahead tonight, the first thing is the tag team titles. What else do you still want to accomplish in your career? You got 17 years behind you, maybe 17 more in front of you.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know about 17.
Okay, just 16.
But I've got a lot I want to accomplish, especially now with AEW. I feel like a newborn baby, in their 30s. but there's so much I want to accomplish. I want to be a tag team champion. I've always loved tag team wrestling from the time I was a child, and to be able to win a tag team championship in one of the biggest companies in the world would be a dream come true. So that's something I want to accomplish. And eventually, I would like to branch off and be a singles guy as well, and still do SCU. But I would like to. I want to wrestle in big matches against guys like Cody, against Jericho, against Pac. And those are the big names, Moxley and Kenny. And there's so many guys that I think I'd like to get up there and have great matches with, and on the highest level. And these are the things I've dreamed about as a kid, and now I've got an opportunity to make them happen.
Isn't it crazy that it all started? You were a masked wrestler when you started.
It was.
And it's look how far it's come.
Well, there was a time where they thought I was a good-looking guy, and that's why they said I should lose the mask. But now, as I did a couple years of MMA, and wrestling has taken its toll. And I was looking at myself before I came over here in the mirror, and I was like, God, I look rough and tired today. Sometimes I want to put that mask back on. That's a shoot. I'm not joking when I say that.
No.
Oh,
You can't hide this. Come on.
Sometimes I want to, man. Sometimes.
What has MMA taught you about being a pro wrestler?
I think it's helped me portray the competition side of pro wrestling, because now that I know what it's like to go through a training camp and to prepare for a fight, and the nerves that you have and the way you feel, I can actually use that in pro wrestling, and I can say, how would my character feel at this moment when he's walking to the ring? Well, I can go back to the way I felt when I was walking to the cage, and it's like you're confident, but you're nervous and you're anxious, and you've got these butterflies in your stomach, and you just want to get in there and have a punch thrown at you so you can lock in on the moment, and so it's like I can use all that in pro wrestling, and it helps create that big match feel, and I love the fact that things have kind of blurred between pro wrestling and MMA, because now they use that term in wrestling, big fight feel.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like that big fight feel, man. And, when you're watching, I don't know if you're a fight fan.
Yeah, I am.
When you're watching, whoever it is, whether it be, go back to the old days, Mike Tyson, or currently you say Conor McGregor or Anderson Silva or whoever, and it's like the guy's walking in the ring, and let's say you're a big fan, and you're like, oh God, please do well, please do well, please. I love that feel. And if we can give other people that feeling, then that's amazing.
When you guys are walking in the ring, you've had some interesting costumes over the last little while. Whose idea is that, or is it a collective?
It's collective.
You guys in like a group chat, when you're not face to face with each other?
We are a part of maybe 5 different group chats labeled SCU. We've got one
SCU?
We've got the one that's actually just Frankie and Chris and I, and that one's actually not even labeled, but we have one with like the Young Bucks, and we've got one with the social media people of AEW, and we've got one with the merchandise people of AEW, and we've got one with this person. They're all we've got one with Brandon Cutler, because his wife does our gear. Right. And so they're all labeled SCU. So it gets a little confusing sometimes. So you try to like change it to where this one's SCU and this one's SCU and this one's
Is one of them the worst group chat you've ever been in?
No, but maybe I should name it. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
that's
there you go.
That's a really good idea.
Do you have some costume ideas that you guys haven't done yet that we might see maybe at Full Gear or, in the next little while?
I've got one idea that I really want to do, but I'm not going to reveal it.
Okay.
But I'm very excited to do it. I'm just looking for the right time to do it.
All right.
But we always try to do something. When we did Double or Nothing, we went with a black base with like red, white, and blue trim on there, and that was basically because when we did All In, I wore the red, white, and blue Creed tights, and that was kind of a big. Everyone kind of really liked that, and so we're like, let's do a spin off of that. Let's wear our regular black base, but let's do red, white, and blue, and that was kind of cool. And then when we did Jacksonville, we had gear designed to look in the colors of the Jacksonville Jaguars, which actually we wore on TV last week as well. And we're going back to Jacksonville in January, so we'll probably wear it again. But there's always some sort of idea that we have. We've got an idea for tonight as well. We're going to be, I guess, spoiler alert, you'll already see it by then. We're going to be wearing black with yellow and white tonight, which is basically like Rocky colors.
Oh yeah.
We're big Rocky fans, Frankie and I, and so we kind of consider ourselves like the underdogs going into this, and so which is the comfortable place to be, just like Rocky Balboa, and we're going for the world championship, and so we're wearing Rocky colors.
I was really surprised to find out that you had been on the Steve Harvey Show.
Oh yeah.
Is this clip
Twice.
out there? Twice. Wow.
Yeah, I was on dating segments.
I was asked to be part of that.
Were you?
A Steve Harvey dating segment. I'm like, I think I'm okay. We'll leave that to Scorpio.
You know what's funny is the first time, so we did this questionnaire, and it was like basically they'll ask the girl questions and she'll answer, and basically like, let's say, do you like peanut butter or almond butter? It's just an example,
sure,
right?
Okay.
And so she'll say, I like almond butter. So every guy on the panel that chose peanut butter is excused. Right, and so Steve would say, "Okay, number 29, number 15, number 8, number 7, you're eliminated." Right. So I got down to, I believe, 4 of us, and she asked whatever the question was, and I had answered correctly. And there was the guy next to me. He answered incorrectly, but Steve called my number to be eliminated. He was like,
Harvey,
"All right, 50."
He's not so good at reading the cue cards. Again.
Yeah. and both him and I looked at each other like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, whatever," and I just left because they told us if anything like that happens, just leave.
Oh, because they knew that Steve wouldn't read the cards correctly.
Oh, yeah. And the next time
like
it was
Miss America.
The next time it was literally, I think it was just 3 of us sitting next to the girl, and she would just specifically ask us questions. And it got down to 2 of us, me and another guy, and she chose the other guy.
And you get paid for these appearances, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Next time I'm demanding that I'm going to be the main person.
Yes.
The next time it's like, no, you bring on people to date me.
Yeah, that's
I'm not taking 3 L's.
Did anything, I mean, that's national exposure, and a lot of people watch Steve Harvey Show. Did anything come of it?
Besides rejection? No, a check came. That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to pitch it to me as like, well, we've got a lot of viewers. This could lead to other roles or other possibilities.
No, not for me.
Yeah. Well, I was like, I don't think that that's going to happen.
You're a better looking guy than I am, though.
I don't know about that.
Maybe they're thinking,
I just might have more
you could be
hair.
on like The Bachelor.
Oh, I don't know about
Yeah.
that.
Are you single?
No, not anymore.
Oh, okay, then you
You're
can't be
single
on The
now?
Bachelor. Yeah. No, yeah. I'm single.
Then
but
you
I'm
could
saying-
be on The Bachelor.
Maybe. I heard there's never been a black Bachelor. So maybe
I haven't watched the show enough, but here you go.
No, they could use Kenny King. He was on The Bachelorette.
That's right.
Yeah, so they could use him. I don't think I'd do well on The Bachelor.
Why not?
Just dating that many women at once.
What I couldn't,
I don't have the time, man.
I wouldn't be able to like. They're so good at like breaking the news to the girl. I wouldn't be good at that. I'd just be like, I'm sorry, Tiffany.
Yeah, I'd be like,
sorry.
you know, like I wouldn't be able to do it. Right. I'd feel so bad. It's hard to break up with someone. Yeah.
Right.
It's
Well,
really
and then you
difficult.
got to do it on national television.
Oh, yeah.
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 But we're putting it out there. Maybe you could.
I mean, I'll maybe do it if they asked me nicely and if the bag was right.
ask me
if the
nicely.
bag is right.
It would be a good bag, I would think.
It'd have to be a good bag.
I
It'd
think
have
it
to
would be a good bag.
Yeah.
I had Tessa on the show earlier.
Oh, she's one of my favorites.
Completely unrelated to what we were just talking about, but she talked about the match that you guys had.
Oh yeah.
And said that she'd love to wrestle you again, sometime, somewhere, maybe.
Yeah, I want her here. I've been pretty open about it. I think she's the best women's wrestler in the world. And
she's one of the best wrestlers in
and
the world.
I was just going to say, and one of the best wrestlers I've ever been in the ring with. Honestly, she's phenomenal, you know. And so the fact that she's not with WWE, I know she's with Impact, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure she's very happy there. But I have nothing to do with it. This is me as just wrestler talking. I would love to have her here with the AEW, and I think this would be a great place for her.
Yeah, no. Look, she's going to succeed no matter where she goes.
No matter what.
But why not succeed in a place where you're also working, right?
Yeah. And then I know AEW is not really a big intergender wrestling thing or fan, but I mean, who knows what would happen? Tessa and I have had 2 matches. We're 1-1. So, maybe we do one more. We'll see.
When did you start to realize that things were changing? Maybe there was AEW catching on. Like, when were you starting to get recognized more in airports or restaurants or whatever? When was that? When did that change really start to happen?
It was right after we announced the company, and
Okay.
I was in my city, which is a very small city, which I won't reveal because it is a very small city.
It's the worst city you've ever been in.
No, it's back home in SoCal. It's one of the best. So I was in my little town. It's a very small town, and I was and I don't even know if anybody there watches wrestling, or I didn't think. And I was just in a restaurant hanging out just like I normally always do. I'm always out in my little downtown area every week. And one of the guys working at the restaurant came up to me, and he was just like, "Hey, I'm really excited for what you guys are going to do."
No way.
And I was like, "Wow, that's great." And then so next thing you know, I was like, I'm at 7-Eleven a few days later, and someone's like, "Oh my God, are you Scorpio Sky?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Can I take a picture?" And the guy behind the counter is like, "What's happening here?" That's the weirdest thing I think about, like, being in this little middle stage where I'm at, where it's like, if Tom Cruise, wherever he goes, he gets recognized. John Cena, these
Sure.
guys.
Yeah.
But I'm in this place where it's like I'm still a normal guy, but to certain people that run into me, it's like they're like, "Oh, well," so the people that are around me are just like, "What's happening here? I don't know who is this guy." So it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of cool. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
AEW is making wrestling cool again, I feel like.
Oh yeah, it's as a matter of fact, Frankie and I were in a sports bar right next door last night, and I'm pretty sure they didn't recognize us, but I heard a couple of guys working behind the bar talking about AEW. They're like, "Oh yeah, it's a big show tomorrow, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
Maybe they brought it up because of us. I don't know, but I've been in my gym and I've seen commercials, and the guy that works behind the counter at my gym is a huge wrestling fan, and he watches us every week, and just stuff like that. It's I won't say it's becoming mainstream yet, but I think it's possibly on the way.
It's definitely cool again. Like,
Oh,
it used to be like, yeah, no, I watch wrestling, and like your friends would be like, "You watch wrestling?"
Yeah.
Now it's like, that's back
I mean,
to being cool.
It's a respectable form of entertainment, I like to think, and there's so many stars in sports and entertainment that are fans of wrestling. And then if you look at The Rock, I mean, he's one of the biggest stars in the world, and he came from wrestling.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's becoming a respectable form of entertainment.
Yeah. Is there anything else we need to add? I've really enjoyed this.
This has been fun,
Yeah,
man.
this has been fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's I think we've covered a lot.
We had room service, or not room service, housekeeping knocking on the door. It was out of focus for a little while, so thank you for sticking with us.
Probably
on
better
this.
for me if it's out of focus, honestly. But
What do you... Stop this.
I'm just kidding.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Well, there you go. That was the worst interview that Scorpio Sky has ever been in. Actually, that interview would have probably been a lot better had I remembered to hang the Do Not Disturb thing on the door. Can't believe I forgot that. This is the second time that housekeeping's been like, housekeeping? Happened during the TJP interview, too. But other than that, great interview with Scorpio. Loved talking with him. That was obviously a few hours before what happened that night on AEW Dynamite, where him and Frankie Kazarian became the first ever AEW World Tag Team Champions. That was also a few hours before I appeared on AEW Dynamite, interviewing Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express, live on TNT, when Santana and Ortiz out of nowhere attacked them from behind. I almost got attacked myself. Like, I was caught in the middle of that. I should probably have Santana and Ortiz on the show to explain their actions. That'd be a great interview as well. Well, while we're speaking of champions and championships, there's still time to enter to win this beauty right here, the Big Gold World Heavyweight Championship from FanDuel Belts. The information on how you can enter to win this beauty right here is on my Instagram page. Look for the post of me posing with the belt. It kind of looks like... That's what the pose kind of looks like. All you have to do is follow me, follow FanDuel Belt, and tag one friend. That's it. Boom! You'll be entered. The contest ends on November 11th. So if you're watching this after November 11th, thanks for watching, but sorry you can't enter the contest. But you live in the future, so like you have nothing to complain about because you've got flying cars and, you know, the Cleveland Browns are the Super Bowl champions. Apparently in this scenario, you're watching this in like 2047 or something like that. So who should be on the show next other than Santana and Ortiz? Let me know, because I want to do as many of these interviews as I possibly can. If you're someone who prefers listening to these interviews instead of just watching them, I do have a podcast. I've pinned the comment below, but I do have a podcast, The Chris Van Vliet Show. Wherever you happen to listen to podcasts, give me a like, give me a subscribe. And I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube and you like and subscribe, thank you so much. The fact that I even get to sit down with these people blows my mind. You guys know that the specific goal for this year was 50 wrestling interviews. Man, we're closing in on 100 here. This is insane. I couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much for the support. We got 2 months left. Let's keep going, guys.